Hi, I'm Raja. Welcome to a new video. In this lesson, you can learn how to compare and contrast in English. So, when you compare two or more things, we need to talk about similarities and differences between them. So, this is a very global skill. It could be useful in spoken English and in writing. So, let's start by seeing how you can talk about big differences. So writing or talking about big differences. So look at this example. They are totally different. So it means that there is a big difference or they are so different. It has or it is hard to compare them, or it is impossible to compare them since it's a very huge difference. They are almost nothing alike. You can use also this expression. They are almost nothing alike. They are not the same. We can use comparative adjectives or adverbs, like everything changes so much faster. Countryside is way more relaxed. So here the adjective is a comparative adjective, faster and more relaxed. Learning online is so much more interesting than I expected. Here there is a comparative using more interesting. Of course it's a long adjective, that's why I have to add more. So, but here for faster, it's a short adjective, only faster. It means we have two syllables. We don't need to, there is no need to add more, only fast, and we add er. But for long adjectives, interesting, we use more interesting. We can't say interestier, but we say more interesting. Before comparative, you can add an intensifier. Here we have much. Here we have way. Keep in mind that way is more conversational and we don't use it in writing. Some common mistakes. Look at this example. Marrakesh is much expensive than Rabat. The food in countryside is much more cheaper than in the city. So here we can't say Marrakesh is much expensive because expensive, it needs more. Okay, so we have to add here more, and it would be Marrakesh is much more expensive than Rabat. For the second one, the food in countryside is much more cheaper than in the city. Cheaper, it's a short adjective, so it means that there's no need to add more, and the answer would be the food in countryside is much cheaper than in the city. So talk about close similarities. They are so alike, I can hardly tell them apart since they are so similar, closely similar. They look so similar. They are equally hardworking. It's the same, equal. They are equally hardworking. Hajar is just as optimistic as Yahya. So Hajar is just as, adjective as. So we use it for giving similarities. But here you can use it in another way. You can say, to talk about difference, you can say Hajar is just not as optimistic as Yahya. So this we can use it for people, but also you can use it for things. You can say, for example, football is just as interesting as reading, for example. So it's for people and for things. Small differences. When there is only slight difference, not a big difference as we said before, you say They answered a bit better. They are just a little confused. She wasn't quite as hesitant as said. Their English is slightly clear. So here is the modifier. The modifier bit, a little, quite, slightly. But remember that bit sometimes is more informal than little. So expressing similarities, comparing something to something else or someone to someone else, can be done with different linking words. Here are some examples. So of course these are two fish. So both fish, small and big, are orange. Here in the example, he is a chef like his father. It means that both the son and the father are chefs. This is a fence. It's like a wall that separates two places. It's made generally of wood or iron. So we put up a fence and other neighbors did likewise. So here the expression is likewise. So likewise, her way of talking is similar to her boss. Similar to is the expression, he's a dentist who also plays football. Here, the similarity, we can express it by also or as well as. Her way of convincing is the same as her father, the same as. Nobody loves you as your parents do. So it can be, to conclude, it can be adverbs. So making similarities could be an adverb, like similarly, likewise, in the same way, also, as well as. Phrases like, alike, similar, equal, comparable. Verbs compare, to, resemble, fit, match, mirror, reinforce, reflect, etc. Contrast now. To contrast is to compare two people or things in order to show the differences between them. Expressing contrast, you can use although, though, even though it was raining. So remember that when we use these expressions, these linking words, we have to add the comma here. And so although it was raining, although plus subject plus verb, although it was raining, and went out without an umbrella. Pay attention on the comma, don't forget it. I like to eat fish, but not to catch them. This is a contrast. It was raining, semicolon, but, or you can say yet, and went out without an umbrella. Or and yet, it's like however. It was raining, however, nevertheless, nonetheless, comma. Pay attention to the comma. So if you use semicolon, if it's the same idea, you can use semicolon and the linking word, and then a comma after. It was raining, however, and went out without an umbrella. Despite of the rain, we said already that despite and in spite of plus noun, in spite of the rain, comma, and went out without an umbrella. So in contrast, we can use verbs in contrast. On the other hand, however, in contrast, we can use expressions like in contrast, on the other hand, however. The conjunctions though, although, and but are also possible. You must also pay attention to the structure of your sentences, of course. Here, let's add something. It's not a verb, okay? Just a mistake. So, in contrast, expression, it's an expression. On the other hand, however, so we have to use them. Okay. Transitional adverb goes between separate sentences. Some people want a new system, full stop, however, comma, not everybody agrees. So here it's between separate sentences. We have to use transitional adverb. Through pattern are possible. As we said, all the phrases, subject, verb, comma, he can't even change both. Or you can use subject plus verb plus conjunction, subject plus verb, like he can't even change the bulb, although, but here there is no comma. Here, as you see, there is the comma, here there is no. Coordinating conjunction, of course it joins independent clauses, like he is a postgraduate in English, comma, but he can't even change a bulb. Prepositional phrase normally comes at the beginning of a sentence if the phrase is an adverb. Prepositional phrase, comma, subject plus verb. Unlike his brother, Stephen is quite interested in their family business. Or you can say, Stephen is quite interested in their family business, unlike his brother. As you see here, there is a text. As the COVID-19 outbreak continues to evolve, comparisons have been drawn to influenza. Here there's a comparison between influenza and the COVID-19, and this is a linking word, as. So as is to compare again. Both cause respiratory diseases, comma, yet, as we said before, had important differences between viruses and how they spread. This has important implications for public health measurement that should be implemented to respond to each virus. So please remember that we use firstly, comma, and you can talk are similar. So this is with another color just to tell you that when you write firstly it should be in capital letters and comma directly after the word. Secondly, comma, as a result, comma. So this is, if you want to give arguments, is in order to anything you want, you have to respect that, starting with firstly, secondly, and as a result. Both, but, and also if you want to give example, you just write such as, while, faster than. So these are expressions for talking about contrast similarities. In contrast, however, higher than. You can pause and read it slowly so that you can see the difference and when we can use that. So while also is an expression for that. While symptoms of the two viruses are similar, comma, the percentage of people with severe disease appear to be different. Higher than, as we said, comparative adjective. Okay, this is the end of the lesson. Hope you get some new information from it. And I advise you to write more and more and ask your teachers to correct your work, and little step by step, little by little, you will improve your writing skills. So thank you for your attention and see you again.